let's bring it back a couple of years ago again. Not too far back. We're going to go back to like 2018. And the reason I bring it up is because I finally got to give this film a chance. And I say it like that because I didn't really care for this film when it came out. Nothing against, Jennifer Garner. I think she's a tremendous actress. But I just thought, like, did they really just take the Punisher story and just give it a different name? And truthfully, that's essentially what this film is. And the film I'm talking about is Peppermint. So, finally sat down with it the other night. Finally was just like, I need something that has, like, action in it. I want an action film. And this kept popping up. And I just was like, you know what? Let's do it. I miss The Punisher. Let's give this film a shot. It was on Netflix. I'm pretty sure you can find it. I don't remember where I watched it exactly, but I sat down and started it, and it's very much basically what if Punisher was the wife instead. And the real big difference is just that the Punisher is like a soldier in some way, shape, or form, and his family dies, and it's during like a gang war in a way. So they twist the story a little bit, and essentially how it starts is this family is going through some rough times, and the husband decides, okay, I'm gonna join this friend of mine to rob this drug lord, so I can make some money to save my family and from hardship or whatever. Well, drug lord finds out, and while they're at a carnival, very Punisher-esque, they run a drive-by and kill the father and the daughter. And I think they try to kill the mother, but the mother doesn't die. So the mother is played by Jennifer Garner. So Jennifer Garner goes through, dealing with the death of her daughter, the death of her husband, and she goes to court and she tries to get the people who she claims she saw them, the people who get arrested. And she's in court and she's trying to get them put in jail. And of course, the lawyers bought, the judges bought, even the detectives are bought, all by the drug lord. The drug lord owns them all, so she winds up losing. And she kind of goes crazy where she doesn't trust the system anymore, so she goes into hiding. And she disappears for, like, I think the 3 years or something. She goes away for a long time. And she comes back on, like, the anniversary of her family's death 3 some odd years later. And she's seeking revenge. And sometime during that 3 years, she was fully trained in combat and weapons training. And she's basically like this, I'm not going to say super soldier, but for somebody who doesn't have a background at all in any of that, to be fully trained enough to take on who the apparent, like, drug cartel in the area is able to, like, utilize and pay off, for this nobody to just stop being like a banker. Like, she doesn't have any job that shows that she was ever trained in any of this stuff. She has no background in it whatsoever. So out of nowhere, she just knows 3 years of training, and whatever she was training on overseas completely disappeared off the face of the earth. She's just on the level of, like, military tactical quality kind of attack, I guess I can say. I don't even know how to word it. It's just out of nowhere, she's just a super soldier. Out of nowhere, she's just this killing machine. But of course, she's grieving and she's, like, filling the void of misery and despair with violence. And so she comes back on the anniversary and decides that she's going to kill everybody who was involved. She finds the lawyer. She kills him. She finds the judge. She kills him. She, I think, tries to go after the detectives. I don't remember if she gets them or not. But then she eventually starts going after the safe houses for the drug lord. And what I do like is, even though she has this, on and off, like, military training, this tactical training, it's still not that she's perfect. They do show these things where she does get into predicaments where she looks like she's going to lose, which is kind of nice to see, because, again, you're talking about somebody who is, like, if you're going to try to put her up against anybody else who has all this kind of training, there has to be a level of experience that separates her. Because I know they say a lot when it comes to like martial arts, like anybody who's trained is better than anybody who's untrained. So if you get in like a street fight with somebody and that person just so happens to have done MMA or jujitsu on the side, like as a hobby, like that's what they do to like work out. That's their workout regimen. And they do that 4 days a week, and they've been doing it for the last 2 years. I've never thrown a punch unless it was in a bar fight. They're going to kick my ass. Not essentially that because they're bigger or they're better, they're just trained. And the more experience you have with being trained, the kind of better you are. So they do show scenarios where she's trained, and because she's just has that basic training, she is kind of better than these other dudes who are just trained to shoot. They're not really trained in the tacticalness of it. And they also show her against people who have that technical kind of capabilities, and they show that separation where it comes to when she's up against regular gang members, she's kicking ass. But then when she's up to people who are trained longer or have more experience than she does, she's kind of like falling back, not really able to be up to par with them. But for some reason, when the film comes to an end, it goes through the whole process of her doing all of this. She gets her revenge. She gets the drug lord. She gets the detective who was working for the drug lord. And they arrest her. Because, of course, she's also a vigilante. So they arrest her. They have her in the hospital. And the good detective is just kind of like, okay, we kind of need you to go out and do your thing. And he slips a key to the handcuffs, and she disappears. So it's meant to lead to this thing where it's like, oh, she's now the vigilante of this universe. She's the Punisher of this universe they set up. And I don't know if there was a sequel ever planned. I kind of like the idea that she survives. But then again, I also think if you were trying to make this one-off story that was a twist on the Punisher story, maybe you shouldn't have ended it with the idea that, yeah, she's going to keep doing it, because then you just essentially made female Punisher for no reason if there's no plans to keep building on it. And I can't remember why it's called Peppermint. As of right now, I do not recall why it's called Peppermint whatsoever. Maybe it's just to throw people off, to not have it be some other name like, Kick-Ass Mom or something, whatever other possible name you could have given this besides female Punisher. And I'm not saying that it's not. So when it comes to the idea of, female action films, there's a lot of good ones out there. I'm not saying this is a bad film. This is good for the action. It's pretty decent for the story. But could it have been a little bit more unique and not just taking the same sort of concept and just tweaking a couple of minor things here and there? That's like if I took Spider-Man and just decided to make him like Cockroach Man instead. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, there's something weird about taking that story and twisting it, but in the way that they did. And it's not even that they did it bad. It's not bad. It's nice to see that story. But it's like the argument that people have when they say like certain music sounds very similar. Like if you have one band, oh, this band sounds like every other band. But it's just how they interpret the music and how that music sounds. And maybe you don't always want to listen to just that band. If you listen to the same 5 bands and all of their music kind of sounds the same amongst all 5 of them, and you still listen to all 5 of them, I don't see a problem with that either. Just like I don't necessarily see a problem with this. I just wish that there was something more to it than just giving me those Punisher feels. And the fact that it can be related so much to it takes away from its uniqueness. And I feel like it deserves a little bit more uniqueness because it is a nice story of like bittersweet revenge in a way, So I'm not going to say I don't recommend it. I'm just going to say that the ending might be satisfying for a lot of people, and it might be disappointing because I don't hear anything. I think this doubled its budget too in the box office. It did good. I don't know if we're going to get more though. So with an ending, with the way it ends, it kind of feels like maybe you get more, but I haven't heard anything, nor do I see anything about it coming up. You know what I mean? And I also know that it was nominated for a couple of things that were very random. So it's well worth its weight as a film in and of itself. It's just, maybe come up with a sequel. Maybe that's what it does need. Maybe it does need a sequel. Maybe Jennifer Garner needs to come back and start kicking ass for some other reason. But then again, why does she start kicking ass? Like, that's why even the Punisher, in some way, shape, or form, kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, his story is one-tracked. If he revenges his family, then it's kind of over. But then if he becomes a vigilante that starts fighting with the Avengers, then this character in Peppermint doesn't connect to anything. She exists in her own universe. So they're just going to say, okay, you're just going to be our off-the-books killing machine. Like, that's it? That's what you're going to do? Like, why don't you, like, bring her in and, like, make her do other things? Like, even when it comes to Punisher. Punisher has been involved in storylines with Spider-Man, with the Avengers, with Blade. He's been involved in a bunch of storylines with Blade. So he exists in a universe where even after the main focus of his reason for existing in the first place is kind of, like, done, like, he revenges his family, he still has a connection to that universe where he can be incorporated into other characters. Peppermint doesn't have that. And I keep saying Peppermint. That's not even her name. I don't know where Peppermint comes from. Honestly, off the top of my head, I cannot recall what Peppermint comes from. And I feel bad that I'm not giving it more sort of praise. But I just, when it comes to who I feel listens to my stuff, I want to be truthful with you. And I want you to know that there are certain things that you're probably going to really like about the film, and there are probably going to be a lot of things that you're not going to like about the film. You might find some plot holes that I don't see, because I'm not watching it for its actual story, I'm watching it for the action. And I'm not saying that the story is bad. It's just that the story's been done. It's just like a copy of itself. You know what I'm saying? If we're going to bash on anything that is a copy of something, like a flat out, like, you just stole this concept and reworked it so it made sense for the story you want to tell, yeah, maybe. If it existed in a what-if universe, maybe. But you have to be aware of that going into it. Like, if you're a Punisher fan, you're going to watch this and you're going to love it because it is essentially the Punisher. And if you're not a Punisher fan and you went into this movie and you loved it, watch The Punisher. It's the exact same thing. And it's been around a lot longer, and its story is, I don't want to say just as sad. The plot device to move the story forward for this film, it's sad. It's very upsetting when it comes to that, and I do still like the perspective of the mother. It's like the same as like being that Punisher is the father's perspective, and this is the mother's perspective. It's kind of like the same like in like Flashpoint. In the Flashpoint paradox for DC, where instead of Bruce Wayne's parents die, Bruce dies, the mother becomes the Joker, and the father becomes evil Batman. You know what I'm saying? It's like a what-if universe. Like, what if the mother died instead of the father? But even so, they don't die amongst, like, just a regular gang war. You know, there's a connection for Punisher to make to what he's doing and the various different ways that it's been done, but like, this is a revenge story as well, so the revenge has been fulfilled. So if the revenge has been fulfilled, then what would a sequel give us? And then again, maybe we'll never get a sequel, and maybe it's not necessary. But for what the ending gave us, then why did you end it that way? Like, that's why I'm just disappointed with the ending if there were no plans to do more, or if there aren't any plans to do more in and of itself. Jennifer Garner does tremendous. I think she should do more action. I think another action film is in the works for her. The only thing I've seen from her when it came to action was Elektra, and I know she has the capability. I know she's a tremendous actress, and she's also a tremendous action star. And I think she deserves another one of these, if not just something else. Give her something else. Put her in something that she could be, you know, throwing knives and shooting guns. You know, give her a John Wick series. Let this be Jennifer Garner's John Wick. Do a Peppermint 2. I don't know what the story would be, but hell with it. Like, let's run with it. You were able to make 3 Takens. We're up to 4 John Wicks. Like, you could give this another one with an ending that you gave it. And if that wasn't the plan, then whoever produced it that greenlit that ending, you can go fuck yourself, because it's upsetting to think that was the ending you decided to give it when you weren't going to give us more. And that's just me. That's just my feelings.